Yeah. Mail you sent, na? Oh, you should have sent to my office also. My email ID also. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Hello. Hello, Venkatesh. Hello, Venkatesh.
ಅರುಣ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
ಓಕೆ.
ಓಕೆ.
ಜ್ಞಾನ ತೆರೆಸುತ್ತ ಕಣ್ಣ ಈ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಹೊನ್ನ ಕಿರಣ ದಿನ ಪಾಠ ಪಠಣ ಗುರು ಬುದ್ಧಿ ವಚನ ಇದು ವಿದ್ಯಾದಾನ ತಾಣ ಪಡೆದಾಗಲೇನೆ ಸಿರಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂಧಕಾರ ದಮನ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯ ನಮನ ನಮನ
ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಬೆಳಕು ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಬದುಕು
ದಿನಪಾಠ ಪಠಣ ಗುರು ಬುದ್ಧಿ ವಚನ ಇದು ವಿದ್ಯಾದಾನ ತಾಣ ಪಡೆದಾಗಲೇ ಸಿರಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂಧಕಾರ ದಮನ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯ ನಮನ ನಮನ
ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಬೆಳಕು ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಈ ಬದುಕು ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಬೆಳಕು ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಈ ಬದುಕು ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಬೆಳಕು ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಈ ಬದುಕು ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಬೆಳಕು ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಈ ಬದುಕು
ಎರೆಯುತ್ತ ಜ್ಞಾನ ತೆರೆಸುತ್ತ ಕಣ್ಣ ಈ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಹೊನ್ನ ಕಿರಣ ದಿನಪಾಠ ಪಠಣ ಗುರು ಬುದ್ಧಿ ವಚನ ಇದು ವಿದ್ಯಾದಾನ ತಾಣ ಪಡೆದಾಗಲೇ ಸಿರಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂಧಕಾರ ದಮನ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯ ನಮನ ನಮನ
ಬದುಕು
ಜ್ಞಾನ ದೇಗುಲವೇ ಬೀಡು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಕಡಲಿನ ತಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅರಿವು ಮೂಡಿಸುವ ಗುರುವೇ ದೇವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಗುಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಾಧನೆಯ ಮುಟ್ಟು ಮೆಟ್ಟಿಲು ಹತ್ತುವುದಿಲ್ಲೇ ಮೊದಲು ವಿದ್ಯೆಯೇ ನಮ್ಮಯ ಹಕ್ಕು ನಾಳೆಯ ದಿಕ್ಕು ಜೀವನದ ಸೆಲೆಯು
ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಬೆಳಕು ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಈ ಬದುಕು
ಎರೆಯುತ್ತ ಜ್ಞಾನ ತೆರೆಸುತ್ತ ಕಣ್ಣ ಈ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಹೊನ್ನ ಕಿರಣ ದಿನಪಾಠ ಪಠಣ ಗುರು ಬುದ್ಧಿ ವಚನ ಇದು ವಿದ್ಯಾದಾನ ತಾಣ ಪಡೆದಾಗಲೇ ಸಿರಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂಧಕಾರ ದಮನ ಮಂಗಳೂರು
Mr. Sashidhar Pai Marur has already joined. He had some problem in joining, but I'm sure that he will join us very soon now.
ತೆರೆಸುತ್ತ ಕಣ್ಣ ಈ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಹೊನ್ನ ಕಿರಣ ದಿನ ಪಾಠ ಪಠಣ ಗುರು ಬುದ್ಧಿ ವಚನ ಇದು ವಿದ್ಯಾದಾನ ತಾಣ ಪಡೆದಾಗಲೇನೆ ಸಿರಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂಧಕಾರ ದಮನ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ.
Should bear with us. Dr. Swami has also joined us. Captain Swami? Captain Swami? ಆಯ್ತಾ ಸರ್?
ತೆರೆಸುತ್ತ ಕಣ್ಣ ಈ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಹೊನ್ನ ಕಿರಣ ದಿನ ಪಾಠ ಪಠಣ ಗುರು ಬುದ್ಧಿ ವಚನ ಇದು ವಿದ್ಯಾದಾನ ತಾಣ ಪಡೆದಾಗಲೇನೆ ಸಿರಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂಧಕಾರ ದಮನ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ನಮನ ನಮನ.
ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಈ ಬದುಕು ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಬೆಳಕು ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಈ ಬದುಕು. ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಬೆಳಕು ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಈ ಬದುಕು ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಬೆಳಕು ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಈ ಬದುಕು.
ಎರೆಯುತ್ತ ಜ್ಞಾನ ತೆರೆಸುತ್ತ ಕಣ್ಣ ಈ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಹೊನ್ನ ಕಿರಣ ದಿನ ಪಾಠ ಪಠಣ ಗುರು ಬುದ್ಧಿ ವಚನ ಇದು ವಿದ್ಯಾದಾನ ತಾಣ ಪಡೆದಾಗಲೇನೆ ಸಿರಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂಧಕಾರ ದಮನ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ.
ಹೇಗೆ ಲगा स्पॉन्जिंग फीलिंग बेटर
हाँ मुझे ड्रेस तो लग रहा है
इधर
मेडिसिन में होता है मेडिसिन मतलब थोड़ा सा तो झोपड्याचं एक गुंगीचं एक हे होतं, लेकिन मैं
एसी सुरू आहे कसली भी
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Captain Swami here.
He was kind enough to, to finish that off and, join us here. So it's nice. So we will start our this thing. I think Chair had some technical problems, so he is actually using some other system to join. But if he's actually really, if it's more than say 30 seconds, I think we will actually start our session with Captain Swami and Professor Shivkumar Magadha. So just bear us for only a few seconds. I'm sure now he'll be able to log in fast.
I had some issues here. So I've
Oh,
logged
yes.
in.
Yeah, that's okay.
Mobile banking.
Yeah, that's okay, Mr.
Everything
Shashidhar. Yeah.
till we
No,
started.
you are already inside. We will actually start our session. I'm sorry for all those technical problems that we had to encounter there. All our panelists have also joined, so we will start with our session 2. Now this is on basically on Namma Karavali, basically on the coastal region here. So to chair this session, we have with us a very young and dynamic businessman from our region, Mr. Shashidhar Pai Marur. Now Shashidhar Pai Marur is the president of Kendra Chamber of Commerce, and he comes from a business family, a very well-known business family in the region here. Mr. Shashidhar Pai Marur joined the family business as a third generation at the age of 21 in 1990. So he has very wide range of experience in all areas of business. He has an expertise in end-to-end warehouse management. Mr. Pai deals with many units of family business, mainly on vehicle spares, machinery tools, aluminum and interiors, automotive and industrial batteries. With vast business experience, Mr. Pai is well acquainted with the business environment of the coastal region and seabound trade and its challenges. I am happy that Mr. Shashidhar Pai, in spite of his busy schedule, has agreed to chair the session on Namma Karavali, that is our coastal region. Now in this panel, there are three, this is basically a panel discussion and there are three speakers on this. Now I would actually leave the floor open to Mr. Shashidhar Pai for the proceedings. Mr. Shashidhar Pai, over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Jairaj. I'm sorry for this some technical glitches here. First of all, I thank the organizer for inviting or giving me this opportunity to chair this session on coastal business scenario. I have basically this part of the region is quite a strategically located business district. So we have all modes of transport connected to Mangalore that makes it a very attractive destination. So in spite of the few challenges which we face in road connectivity, but still Mangalore is still the preferred destination. With the recent advent of the terminology of beyond Bangalore, already initiated by the state government last year, Mangalore becomes a very favorite and attractive destination for all businesses. So we have activities. So moreover, IT also is a quite a preferred business avenue here. So we have about 150 IT small and medium IT companies, and of course, in Infosys we have, and we're looking for more IT engagement through a lot of proposals. Chamber is initiating a IT park to about 2 lakh square feet of IT park to house a new startups and even bigger IT companies with about more than 1,000 odd seats also. So in this direction, we have both private and public, state as well as private initiatives coming through in terms of engaging in IT sector. Of course, industries are also thriving in this region. We have the benefit of quite a very big human resource in Bangalore with the more than 19 engineering colleges and other graduation colleges here. It's an educational hub. So this makes it all the more attractive and highly potential business area. So being a coastal city, very highly lucrative and a thriving business district, we have our own challenges also. And as you all know, India is growing, and if you've seen that lot of there is economy is also booming. In the last month, we have seen that at the end of April, in the month of April, we have seen that GST collection hitting the rooftop by 1,65,000 crores, higher by 25,000 than the previous month. So there is a lot of fees in the market, and we see a lot of positive trend and a lot of success stories coming in. So recently we have heard another big story. Yesterday we have come across that one company is planning to start Acme. It's on my phone since the phone is there. They are starting a new company. There is a proposal yesterday. CM announced that 52,000 crores is being invested in Mangalore. So this is a very successful and a most important commercial area when it comes to business activity. So it comes along with security threats in terms of maritime. Of course, we have our maritime board set up, and Mr. in the meeting about 2 weeks back in Mangalore on coastal business and maritime opportunities. There was a detailed presentation made by Maritime Board in Mangalore, which was quite a attractive one. And if this comes through, there will be higher opportunities and lot of scope, including tourism and other activities also. So, having said this, we have our own challenges in terms of maritime security and all these aspects also, which needs to be looked at. And it's a very good initiative taken by the organizers to have this kind of an event, which covers 360 aspect of all the business activity here. So we have with us here today illustrious speakers and experts in their own field. We have Mr. Shivakumar Magada, Dean of Fisheries College, Mangalore, will be touching upon the blue economy with specific reference to Karnataka. So we have also with us Sri Kumar IPS, IPS of Internal Security Division, Karnataka Police. He will be dwelling upon Karnataka's position in the coastal security management structure. So also we have Captain C Swami, Director of Ports and Inland Waterways. He will be speaking on state of intermediate and ports in Karnataka. So I, on behalf of the organizers, welcome you all, sir, for this webinar and this session 2, and look forward to quite a vibrant engagement in the respective subjects. So we have 1 hour here, which I've taken for more than 5-6 minutes. I have 3 speakers, eloquent speakers, and illustrious speakers who are respectable and will be giving an insight on their respective subjects. So we will have these 3 speakers speak about 10 to 15 minutes each, and the balance 15 minutes will keep for interaction. So I would like to invite Professor Shivakumar to give his remarks on blue economy with the special reference to Karnataka. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes,
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 sir. Yes, yes.
Okay. Let me share my. Are you seeing my slides, sir? Do you see my slides?
Yeah.
Not clearly.
It is off.
Well, good afternoon, respected Chair, Mr. Maru, Dr. Jairaj Amin, Dr. Dayanand sir, and all the dignitaries in the webinar. Next 15 minutes, I'll speak on the economy, blue economy, not the security issues. I only talk about the opportunities in fisheries and aquaculture in Karnataka. Look at this aquatic resources of the country. We have 2.02 million square kilometers of exclusive economic zone. Continental shelf about 0.52 kilometer square, million square kilometers. Rivers 1.97 lakh kilometers. Reservoirs, ponds, lakes. Look at the vastness of the country, 3.28 million square kilometer. And the country is so vast with 152 million hectares of arable land, wherein 70 to 80 million hectares is irrigated. And we are producing about 310 million tons of food grains. This is all-time highest. In last 65
Sir,
years,
are you showing any slide? Because I can't see any.
I'm showing.
Okay.
It's not visible, sir, here.
Is it?
It's not visible.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, just set it right.
Huh? This one? Please hold on.
Okay. Yeah. Sir, okay, sir.
Now
Yeah,
is
it's clear, sir. Now it's
Now it is visible. Now we can see it.
Internet ಹೋಗಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ.
Now it's visible.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah. Professor Magadha visible. Okay.
India could increase its food production by 5 times, fish production by 15 times, meat production by 10 times, and horticulture crop production by 9.5 times, egg production by 48 times. All that is fine, and now we are producing 310 million tons of food grains annually. But in spite of producing 310 million tons, 20 crores of people are suffering from hunger. Another 30 to 35 crores of people are suffering from hidden hunger. That's where the increasing the land-based production is declining every year because of the continuous usage of the same land for same purpose, excessive usage of water, excessive usage of fertilizers. The crop production is declining. That's what people are looking towards water and aquatic food production. So look at this. If you believe the principles of science is same, we are doing well with papaya, milk, jute, ginger, banana, but India is doing well only because of the vastness of the country. That's why I say we must move from production to productivity. If China can produce 15 to 20 or 40 tons of fish per hectare, we are producing only 4 tons. And average paddy production per acre is only 25 quintal, whereas in China it's 60 quintals. So what are the parameters that are always associated with the success? Because the principles of science is same for the entire world. That's why we must move from production to productivity by following the science and technology principles. And resource of Karnataka, because it is Namma Karavadi, look at the reservoirs. 82 reservoirs with 2.67 lakh hectares. It is highest in number, second highest in water spread area. And minor tanks, about 22,000 minor tanks. Major tanks, 3,399, and canals and non-conventional water bodies which are not counted by the fisheries department, 50,000 plus in the form of check dams, nala bunds, farm ponds. Likewise, but Karnataka is in ninth position in terms of fish production, whereas the small states like Jharkhand, Bihar, they are doing exceedingly well. So that's why, but definitely the resources and the knowledge offers huge opportunity to explore even in Karnataka and earn better income. And we have, of course, all the learned group. I don't have to dig into details about the data, but we have 156 fishing villages, 6 major ports, all that's fine. But because of the increased effort, the fish catch is declining day by day, coupled with global warming, pollution, shift in monsoon, other anthropogenic activities, the seas are dying. So that's why people are moving towards the aquaculture in the land, in the land. But worldwide, we are producing 178.8 billion tons. But look at the portion of the catch from the wild. It is declining drastically. The share of aquaculture is increasing, and 800 million people depend on fisheries and aquaculture for their livelihood.
So your
Globally,
slides are not moving, I think.
is it?
Which we are number
Yeah.
2.
Oh, just check now.
Yes, it is not working, sir. It's not moving.
Oh, just check. Just please hold on. Please hold on.
Yeah, now it's
Now
Now
it's
it's-
for
Okay. What I do? Now, okay. Are you seeing this slide? World fish
Yeah,
production.
slide number now 6.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm talking about this. 1 billion people obtain most of their protein from the animal source. So out of 7.7 billion, more than 1 billion people. So even under sustainable development goals, aquaculture and fisheries covers 8 to 9 points. It is limited. Anyway. Okay, I'll come back. So now this is the very important message. By 2025, we need 350 million tons of food grain, 20 million tons of fish. As of now, we are producing 50 million tons, and 110 billion eggs we need, and 5 to 6 all the requirement of the country by 2025, and we are progressing positively. Whatever I have given in the parenthesis, that's the present production. And fisheries and aquaculture or blue economy don't think of only the coastline or the exclusive economic zone or the continental shelf. Wherever I see water that is blue, that is for fisheries. But believe me, agriculture for various reasons it is not profitable. In spite of we are having good soils. By doing agriculture, people are losing money. The state average of paddy is only 25 quintals. By doing farming, farmer will lose 15,000 rupees because the minimum cost of production, minimum support price, all are calculated based on only the running operation cost, excluding the manager cost. So people by default doing agriculture, and 85% of the farmers in the country are small and marginal, where the scientific farming is not economically viable. So that's why slowly people are leaving agriculture. So that is why I promote aquaculture as an alternative livelihood. Look at the small farm pond in Tumkur district. It is just 100 meters square. The water table was too low, and we used the gunny bags, cement slurry, and put the mat of gunny bags with cement slurry to hold the water, just 100 meters square. Just 100 meters square. By doing the seed rearing, a farmer got 9,600 rupees net profit in only 80 days. Whereas to get the same amount of profit, you have to grow paddy in 2 acres, coconut in 6 acres, sugarcane in to 3.5 acres. That's why that is the beauty of aquaculture. Aquaculture in 100 meters square is as equivalent as doing paddy in 2 to 3 acres. And We have long coastline because of the long duration of monsoon. The shrimp farming or the mariculture along the coast, brackish aquaculture is not developed as developed in Andhra Pradesh and Kolkata, West Bengal, Orissa, Tamil Nadu. But still, hardly we have 8,000 to 9,000 acres of land for aquaculture, but the potential is so high. With shrimp farming, the country is exporting only 11.5 lakh tons of fish and earning 48,500 crores. Out of 48,500 crores, 60% comes from the shrimp. But I hardly see 500 to 600 acres of shrimp farming all along the coast. In terms of security, biosecurity is the serious issue. You talk about the terrorism and other security issues. But as a biologist, I see a serious threat on biosecurity because a lot of industries are congregated all along the west coast. And though they claim that they have the zero effluent plant, and we are monitoring, of course, our college is monitoring, but still, as a CSR, they must start the fish and shrimp hatcheries, and they must sponsor for ranching of shrimp, brackish water fishes into natural water bodies because the catch has declined by 60 to 70%. And wherever they have the brackish water creeks, they can have the shrimp farm or fish farm. They can do two-tier system, where outside they can grow marine fish or the shrimp, and in the floating cages they can fatten the crabs, and which is highly profitable. The cost of production will be 400 to 500 rupees or 600, and the farm gate price will be anything more than 800 to 1,500. And see, one of the farmers brought the seawater to the car garage, and by recirculating it, he is doing crab fattening in Ratnagiri. And look at the cages. We have 82 reservoirs in the state and 3.15 million hectares of reservoir area in the entire country. At least 1 or 2% of reservoir area should be cage farming. Without competing for the good resources which are good for agricultural activities, we can augment the fish production by harnessing reservoir by taking up cage culture, where in just 96 meter cube we can produce 4 to 5 tons of fish in 68 months. This is one of the reservoirs in Maharashtra. This cage farming was in KRS. We experimented 10 years ago with 96 meter cube cages, 6 by 4 by 5 meters, and we cultured pangases and tilapia, and we showed the technical process that reservoirs can be effectively utilized for cage farming, and even now it's going on in KRS. And this is integrated pond raceway system, where this is the technology developed by Auburn University, and this is the site in Shanghai where I visited 3 years ago, where they will have only 100 meter square area. I mean, if you have 1 hectare pond area, they take up only aquaculture in only 1% of the area, and 99% is just bulk production. Through raceway system, they are producing 150 kg per meter cube. 150 kg per meter cube in 8 months, as against 2 to 3 kilos in India. So if they can do it, we can also do it. So aquaculture offers so much possibilities. And now under Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, there are 56 schemes in the department, and where an individual gets 40 to 60% of subsidy. So now the government of Karnataka or the government of India is subsidizing for taking up recirculatory aquaculture system, biofloc system, where people do not have the huge resources in their backyard or in about the 2,000 meter square area. They can take up this business with the support of government and produce high quality fish, disease-free fish, uniformly grown fish in their backyard and improve their livelihood. This is the Biofloc modular tank. It is just 10 to 15 tons capacity tank. We can produce 600 to 800 kilos of fish in 6 months. And surprisingly, one of the farmers in West Bengal started doing Biofloc over his house. So now, okay, I'll skip that. So these people, because of the corona, more than 2 crore people have displaced and looking for newer jobs. And these fisheries and aquaculture field, allied sector field, ancillary field will offer umpteen number of opportunities so that they can earn their livelihood. That's what I wanted to say. So now, what do you want to change? After hearing all my talk, if you're ready for change, I'll show this. Okay. You want if you want to change the production productivity or the income of the country or of an individual, you have to change your thinking. Without knowing minimum scale of economy, all the farmers are trying to do integrated farming or any farming. If I ask them cost of production, BC ratio, IRR, they don't know. So that's why we need to change thinking. We need to change production system. We need to change the scale. We need to change the technology. Technology is available elsewhere. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Copy it, copy all the good things. And you must know the economics. Before the biology, you must know the economics and process. See, in fact, okay, I'll not give the example. During discussion, I can give that example. Branding and marketing, hard work to smart work, data management. So, when the country was thinking of doubling the farmers' income, I proposed this. I took 743 farmers from 8 districts to Manipal Medical College and examined their health. 51% of the people have blood, pesticides in their blood. 24% are anemic, 35% are diabetic, and many of them had side problem. So then I told the government to insure all of their health. We are talking about soil health. We are talking about micronutrients. We are talking about insurance of the general insurance. But I propose farmers health insurance to double the farmers' income. So look at the things. We have enough science is already known. For next 10 years, we don't have to do the research. We need to translate the existing knowledge into reality. Look at the fish that is handled in our own bandar. So that's why if you want to improve the economy, you don't have to increase the production. Only by handling hygienically, we can increase the value of the produce. See, this is both are from Bangalore, Namma Karavali. In Ampankatta, we have beautiful showrooms for selling chappals, boots, whereas in Urva and State Bank, we have a shabby market. But we have enough money, but we don't have hygienically, the marketplace to sell the fish in a hygienic manner. And this, see, the dry fish in Bangalore. So it is all with fecal coliform, C. coli, all that. We are selling the dog foods very hygienically, but we are selling human foods so pathetically. So I propose the government to establish solar dryer in the Bangalore or in some of the clusters so that it can be charged for the customers, for the fishermen on a cost basis, paid basis, and even government can make money and we can produce the quality food. And see, if you want to understand fisheries, you cannot understand fisheries separately. I treat agriculture as a whole. So I propose the government to establish such shops, green shops for selling vegetables, blue shops for selling fish. Whenever they see, when we are paying 200 rupees for cafe coffee day, definitely for hygiene, in a hygienic stall, people will pay 10 to 15% extra. Okay, this is okay. So this one of the experiments projects we are handling at our college. It's going on based on sea surface temperature and chlorophyll A. We precisely identify the fish zone, and instead of going in a random direction and coming empty-handed, people can harness the knowledge from the inquires on College of Fisheries and increase the probability of getting good catch. So since the subject is so vast, I limit myself to this, and maybe during the discussion, I will continue. Look at the last slide. If you want to change, we need vision, value, strategy, resources, capability, motivation, and feedback. And if you don't have vision, you'll be confused. If you don't have values, you'll be corrupt. If you don't have strategy, you'll be diffused. If you don't have resources, not necessarily the money, the knowledge, you'll be frustrated. If you don't have capability, you'll be fatigued. If you don't have motivation, that's what we are trying to do. You will crawl. If you don't take the feedback, you will doubt. With this, I'll end my presentation. I'm ready for the open house discussion during the open house. Thank you.
I think we'll leave the open session at the end of this session. Dr. Professor Magadha, it was an excellent presentation. Your experience, academic experience of 26 years and industrial experience of 2 years in aquaculture and handling 27 projects and presenting 17 research papers. Training program, 51 training programs you have conducted and popular articles of more than 120. Written 18 books is clearly showing in this presentation. Your immense knowledge has, I think, given a lot of insight to all the participants here. You have a line of accolades. I think time doesn't permit me to go through it. From National Chanakya Award in 2015 by Public Relations Council of India in New Delhi, and Abdul Kalam Lifetime Achievement Award in 2017. A very illustrious accolades and awards you have decorated the Fisheries College of Mangalore. You have been part of NITA Advisory Committee and Advisory Committee in PAC Business Center and so on and so forth. It was a wonderful in-depth presentation, which I'm sure will go a long way in helping all of the stakeholders in this blue economy. So look forward to your contribution in developing a coastal economy, and I'm sure Chamber is there to facilitate this, and we look forward to your continued support. Thank you very much, sir. So now we have Mr. Sri Vipul Kumar IPS, currently IGP of Internal Security Karnataka Police. Studied its matriculation from Ramakrishna in Deoghar, Jharkhand Ramakrishna Mission in Jharkhand. Did his schooling in pre-university in Modern School, New Delhi. He is a BTech and a MTech graduate in petroleum engineering from IIT and Dhanbad Indian Institute of Technology, Dhanbad. Doctor of Philosophy, Charles Institute, Charles University. So with this illustrious, all these accolades and accomplishes, I'm sure we'll be all eagerly looking forward to his presentation on the subject matter of Karnataka's position in coastal security. So over to you, sir. We are all eagerly all eyes to hear and listen to your presentation. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can you hear me, please? And can you
Yes,
see
sir.
my
Yes.
presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Mr. Pai, chair of this session, Professor Magadha and Captain Swami, the panelists of this session, and all learned invitees for this session, and especially the students. A very, very warm afternoon to all of you. I have been asked to talk about Karnataka's position in the coastal security management structure. So I have got exactly 15 slides. We'll try to finish it within stipulated time, and then we can have some discussion later. So very quickly about the Karnataka Coastal Security Police structure. But let me first of all share it with you. The Karnataka State Police Coastal Police architecture has been appreciated at the level of Government of India, which I have been a witness to during our last meeting with the Secretary Border Management. We have got a special wing as such, Coastal Security Police, headed by one Superintendent of Police who sits at Malpe in Udupi, that is our headquarters. But the story goes long back. It was in 1999 that we had this Coastal Security Police established. And then obviously the focus was more on smuggling and trafficking. But as you all know that post 2008, the whole scenario changed. And as of today, we all understand that our focus is more on internal security dimension than on the smuggling, which has come down quite relatively. Now, our jurisdiction, the Coastal Security Police has got 320 kilometers of coastline, right from Majali in Uttar Kannada in north to Talpadi in south in Dakshin Kannada. And the Coastal Security Police certainly does the last mile connectivity after Indian Navy and Coast Guard. And we take care of the 12 nautical miles in the coast and 50 meters of this coastal regulation zone on the land, that's onshore. There are 64 islands, 1 major port and 12 minor ports. The major port is obviously taken care of also by CISF. Minor ports is taken care of, the security is taken care of by their local security as well as the Coastal Security Police. Now the objectives, in short, I would say we have got 3 objectives. One is collection of intelligence, second is investigation, and third is patrolling as a main component of both intelligence and investigation. Yes, another important role that we play is helping the citizens in distress, whether it be flood or any other search and rescue operation. Now, this is our organizational chart of Karnataka Coastal Security Police. So we have got this coastal security all coming under one special wing, specialized wing of Karnataka State Police, what we call as Internal Security Division, ISD. Here, this wing is headed by an ADG rank officer. Below him, an IG operation, SP Coastal Security. Then we have got 1 DSP Coastal Security, and below that we have got 9 inspectors who are in charge of our 9 coastal security police stations. Right from in north, Karwar, Bilkeri, Kumta, Honavara in north Kannada district, including Bhatkal, 5 of them, and then Gangoli, Malape and Hejmadi in our Udupi district, and Mangalore in our Dakshin Kannada district. So these are the locations of the police stations, as you can see on our coastline, that is of 320 kilometer. So especially for the students, they must understand that when we keep on talking about nautical mile, it's basically 1.852 kilometer, what it means in water. And that 500 meter of coastal regulation zone that we have onshore. That is the whole jurisdiction. Now, these are the statistics. These statistics are just to highlight the point that the job of coastal security is not that easy. It takes lots of efforts to ensure that our coastline is safe. So these are the total, kind of how many boats we have, what is the population, how many ports, how many islands. These all need to be policed. These all need to be monitored by the Coastal Security Police. Now, our manpower comes from 3 sources, main manpower. One is our executive staff. These are the basically police officers who are coming on deputation from the state police. Then we have got technical staff who handles our boats. They are now recruited from ex-Navy and Coast Guard, from those who are ex-Navy and Coast Guard personnel. And then we have got support staff, just like what we have home guards in our regular policing system. These are the people who are taken from the local fishermen community. And they are our eyes and ears to a great extent, a very valuable asset. Now, this we call as Karavali Niyantrana Dala. These are the people who come on our kind of a daily wages basis, but very important element in our coastal security. So this is a photograph of some of these meetings being held along with Karavali Niyantrana Dala, along with our police officers. Now, another interesting thing that our Coastal Security Police does is to have citizen committees, what we call as Sagar Rakshaka Dala. These are the members from the local community who basically volunteer to help the coastal security police stations in their respective areas. So around 10 to 15 members form one committee, and there would be around 10 to 15 such committees in every police station limits. So they again help in lots of programs that we conduct, especially sensitization program. If you can remember what one previous speaker was talking about in morning, that how Mumbai happened, that 26/11, how people went unnoticed, how the terrorists went unnoticed. Now, this is the most important job that has to be done, and that's what is being done here in our state. We ensure that the local community are very much a part of our coastal security ecosystem, and that helps us a lot. Now, this is the support which has been extended by the government of India in various at various times. So what we call is coastal security scheme in phase 1 and phase 2 that helped us in building the police stations and having the boats. What you can see in the photograph, these are our interceptor boats that we use. So 5-ton boats and 12-ton boats. And phase 3, we are supposed to get some further assistance now, which is under process. Now, certainly state government takes care of the majority of support that we have. So whether it be manpower, other administrative expenses, arms, ammunition, all kind of equipments, insurance coverage. And yes, Karnataka Maritime Board, this has been referred to earlier, the board headed by our Honorable Chief Minister, and in which I also as IG Ops and Nodal Officer for Coastal Security, and nowadays another designation, what we call as State Maritime Security Coordinator. So I also sit in that board. Now this board is of big help in getting some other infrastructures, especially lands. Now, yes, I would be quite happy to share it with you that our coastal security police is quite prepared. And this has also been appreciated by our counterparts in Navy and Coast Guard. We have been very, very particular with timely exercises with them. They see Vigil, Sagar Kavach, Sagar Rakshak, and lots of training that our people go through. This was one point which been pointed out in the morning. The training is one area with which our normal coastal, state coastal or marine police suffers from. But here in Karnataka, we take to ensure that our personnel get trained properly. And these are the various organizations they get trained with: Navy, Coast Guard, Goa Shipyard, National Academy of Coastal Policing, that's in Gujarat, NDRF, and CCT, that is our own coastal, the Center for Counter-Terrorism, which is a wing of our internal security division. Now, this is just to show that yes, Karnataka Coastal Security Police has been always doing its job in the way that it should do. So whether it be enforcing the law under certain acts, whether doing rescue operations, whether preventing illegal fishing. Apart from that, Coastal Security Police of Karnataka takes lots of interest in doing eco-friendly and people-friendly policing, like cleaning up the beaches and all those kind of affairs. Now, towards the end, while I close it, this is one of the app that we have been using, and this was also referred to earlier in the morning, that Kadalu app is being used by Karnataka Coastal Security Police. This is in collaboration with our Fisheries Department. Now, our coordination with whether it be Navy, Coast Guard, or District Police, they are a big custodian in our security. Customs, ports, fisheries, and all other state and center agencies of intelligence and regulation. We all work in a very close coordination, and that helps us a lot. Actually, I term it as MICC, manpower, infrastructure, coordination, and community support. That's what keeps our coastline very safe. And we have to work, we all have to work towards that. And every one of us has got a role to play in that aspect. Thank you very much. This was in nutshell, very briefly, but I can assure you that our coastal security police is doing its job in the best possible way given all the limitations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vipul Kumar sir, for giving those insight on the coastal police department structure and objectives of the department and your roles. You have made it look very simple, but I know how much how challenging it is to manage a waterfront of 320 kilometers. And I really appreciate your efforts in doing this happen and saving our coastal belt of Karnataka, and especially more importantly our Dakshina Kannada and erstwhile Dakshina Kannada and Udupi district. So which is very critical for us for our economy also. And I'm sure, sir, we will definitely interact with you more. It was the first time, I mean, at least for me, to have so much information about coastal police of Bangalore, of this Karnataka. We will definitely want you to engage with the trade and commerce of Bangalore. We will definitely approach you for one more session exclusively for trade bodies of Bangalore. Thank you very much for your insights, sir. And I'm sure all the viewers here would have made best use of this information. Thank you once again, sir. So we have the next speaker will be Captain C Swami. He is a Director of Port and Inland Waterways. Captain Swami has worked in the Department of Ports and Indian Water Transport, Karwar, for 18 years. Prior to this, Captain Swami worked in the Shipping Corporation of India for over 6 years. In addition to this, he has also worked with the Tanker Pacific India Private Limited, in which he rose to the position of captain and commanded multiple vessels. Also, to his credit, Captain Swami has piloted a prestigious INS Vikramaditya on several occasions. So, with this brief introduction, I present to you Captain C Swami will be speaking on state of intermediate and minor ports in Karnataka. Over to you, Captain.
Thank you, sir. Very good afternoon to all, sir. Especially my previous speakers, Mr. Shiv Kumar sir, and also a very close friend, and Vipul Kumar sir, who is heading this internal security CSP. So they have set the floor at the highest standard. At last moment, I am having some official work with our honorable minister. That's why I'm able to share. But however, I will give the details regarding what the Maritime Board doing now in order to develop. For July 2020, our department was with Public Works, Ports and Inland Water. That is PWD.
Your video is off.
Okay, I'll. Can I see sub now?
No, Captain.
Now can you see sub?
No, Captain, still not.
No, sir. No.
Not so clear.
Actually, I'm outside, sir. So that's why, because I came.
Now it's clear, yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay. Just before 2020 July, it was with Public Works Department. Now, after 2020, we have shifted to infrastructure because it's the right department. The infrastructure is all about creating larger. Now, after we have shifted from PW to infrastructure, then simultaneously we have formed board. Board is headed by our Honorable Chief Minister himself. So that shows the amount of seriousness and the effort which are being made to develop this coast holistically. Sir. So towards that, we have made one Karnataka Maritime Perspective Plan. I think it is available in our website also, www.karnatakaports.com. So where our consultants, that is PricewaterhouseCoopers, they have studied the whole coast and they have suggested all the development opportunities which are present along the coast, including ports, tourism, and the fisheries. So that is available. Anybody can please access it, and then you can go through. So after having made this plan, so we have prioritized 81 projects that along three major heads, that is port development, port modernization, tourism, and fisheries development. So 81 projects costing around 7,800 crores. So out of 81 projects, we have made a detailed project of 25 projects. 25 project reports have been made worth 1,880 crores. In that, mainly inland water transport, because in our coast, inland water transport is not being utilized or developed, underutilized. So we have to take up that inland water transport, and we have also taken up two non-major ports, that is Karwar and Old Mangalore under Sagarmala, and work is already under progress in Old Mangalore port. However, due to some litigation before Supreme Court, so Karwar development work is not being temporarily stopped, but however, I am sure that will get cleared, and then we'll be able to start this soon. So just one clarification. Actually, before we were having one major and 12 non-minor ports, but now recently, 2 months back, we have divided Bellikeri port into two parts, keeping the outer limits of the Bellikeri port intact. We have divided the Bellikeri port into two ports, that is Bellikeri and Keni. So now we have three ports, 13 non-major ports and one major port. So everybody please note it. And as far as the challenges in port development along the coast, I think everybody knows along the coast, Western Ghats is there, and we know Western Ghat is being a hotspot of world's biodiversity hotspot. And after the Western Ghat, immediately in some places hardly 1 kilometer of land is available, then the sea starts. So maximum from the Western Ghats into the sea, what we get is around max around 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers of inland. So this is a challenge. This is a challenge because any port is required. The major part is the land and the interland connectivity. So unfortunately, am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir, audible.
Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, our coast to interland connectivity is not yet developed only, because since decades, this Hubli-Ankola rail project is being envisaged, but however, so far it has not seen the light of day. So now some hope is there. Let us hope with the intervention of our Honorable PMO's office, so we may get some hope that interland connectivity from the coast to the hinterland is connected, because port is, we are talking about millions and millions of tons of cargo. So this, the volume of cargo cannot be transported by road alone. So wherever the port has to develop and then to operate efficiently, the connectivity, that is rail connectivity, is a must, and we must have rail connectivity. So failing the rail connectivity, it is very difficult for any port to survive. In fact, to operational it optimally. So this we are looking at it now. I hope in a few months or few years time, once this Hooghly Ankola rail comes, then it will be well connected. So as far as development of the ports is concerned, we are planning 2 greenfield ports. That means 2 new ports which are being planned at Ankola Keni, that is in Uttara Kannada, and one more is in Pawan Kurve near Honavar. Actually, these 2 ports are at the advanced stage. We are in the stage of calling for expression of interest is already called, and we are going for RFP, request for proposal. We are going, and the last month we had one seminar along with Peki at Mangalore only. So where we have shown in detail the opportunities and the developmental plans what we have envisaged. So anybody, you can write, those who are interested, you can write to me, and then I'm happy to share that. As far as the development projects are concerned, projects, and before Vipul Kumar Sahab has explained the part of it. Yes, because small estuaries are there, lot of ports are there. More than the fishing ports, it is the fish landing centers, because normally sensors are into the creek. So we cannot monitor even big part of it. So that also is a challenge. However, we are taking up with the home guards, and our local staffs are there manning 24/7 the port gates, and we are also requested our Karnataka Territorial Security Force to deploy their forces at Karwar and Old Mangalore ports, so that security will be tightened up, and then we can go forward. So with that, on the under the chairmanship of our Honorable Chief Minister, sir, we have envisaged many projects. I hope they all will be a reality in 1 to 2 years time. So with that, I can see holistic development of Karavali. That means Namma Karavali. In fact, I am proud to say that being worked along the Karavali for 20 years, now I can say I am also a Karavalian. So with that, I am sure the picture of Karavali will change once these projects will be implemented, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Captain, for that detailed information on minor ports and other opportunities. Yeah, I was a part of that program organized by FICCI and Maritime Board, and I think Chairman Mr. Kapil Mohan was there to present, and I have the detailed presentation I've gone through, and I really appreciate that so much of thought process and gone into this, and it was really motivating insight on what this coastal region can be developed. And I was referring to that when I was telling about the presentation in my earlier remarks. So we would, at the chamber, we would like to have this presentation. I would request you, probably formally, I'll send you a mail to share that information so that we can share it with our people, and they can understand what the government is looking at in terms of working towards inland waterways, and then developing islands, and so on and so forth. So we really appreciate for your time and the detailed presentation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank
Sure,
you.
sir. We'll share. Not a problem, sir.
Yeah, please, I would like to appreciate if you could share it.
Then I'll share the presentation.
Yes, yes. And now the floor is open for any queries on feedback or queries for all the three topics. As we have crossed the time limit, I would request all the participants to respond quickly, and please don't repeat the questions once asked.
Mr. Chairman, I have a simple question. If you permit me. Yeah.
PV Rao from Hyderabad. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
To last speaker, Mr. Swami, who really gave us very good inputs on the port infrastructure, major and non-major. I quickly want to have one clarification from the last speaker. Sir, the government has been at the national level encouraging Sagarmala, and recently I believe 400 more port projects have been added to the list of Sagarmala new port. That apart, I want to know from you, apart from the capital that you may be raising under Sagarmala, are you also, the Karnataka government, trying to involve some private stakeholders, investors? I would like to know from you the role of private participation.
Yes, sir. Actually, your question is a very relevant question. So we are open to PPP, sir, because some projects we have taken, like development of ferry services between Tadadi and Aganashini near Gokarna, which is a tourist hotspot. So their operators can come on a PPP mode, and they can be a part of our development. Also, we are planning some marinas because post there is no marinas, and we are okay at the stage. We have made a feasibility report. We are planning to set up at Mangalore and Malpe. So there also hard infrastructure under the assistance from Sagarmala, we will create the hard infrastructure, and operation wise, we are open to the PPP partners. So please, you can take down our email, that is directorate, DIRECTORATE, P is for Papa, at gmail.com.
Thank you, sir. I'll be in touch with you. I'm writing a book on Sagarmala. I'll be in touch with you. Okay.
Yeah, please write to us, then I'll be able to clarify.
Okay, I am PV Rao from Hyderabad. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any more queries, questions to any of the speakers?
Mr. Chair, I have a very simple question to Sri Upul Kumar. That's my question is quite simple. That is, why not actually the CSP be developed as a specialized body instead of every time expecting the people from the regular police to come here and serve there. So instead of having the deputed officers, why not you actually build CSP as a sort of specialized body in the coastal policing?
Jara Saab, your question is very valid. It certainly helps if you have got a specialized body, but then we have to think it at a larger scale, in the sense that we can't have a cadre of police raised for each and every job. Policing, after all, remains policing. So the basic tenets of policing, if a person picks up, with further training, we can always make him do that specialized job. That's how our policing system functions. all over the country. So yes, how much specialization we drill in or we drive in, that is the point that we have to think of. So yes, that area we need to work upon, and that's what we are doing it. And your point is very valid to the extent that we need to have a specialized wing, but then to just make it a separate cadre also has got its own administrative issues. Tomorrow the issues of promotion comes up. Tomorrow the issue of their further career growth comes up, because you are a limited department, limited wing rather here, coastal security. So all these are the issues because of which we can't immediately go ahead with some sort of a separate cadre or separate, kind of a recruitment process of coastal security.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a nice question and a good response to it. Look forward, look forward to a full-fledged coastal, force in its own separate identity and control. So,
But let me just tell one thing, that all these people who are there right now in our coastal security police, they all are Karavali guys. Ellaru Nambavre, right from Karwar to Mangalore. And these are the guys who know the coast. Actually, they know the coast. It's not that they have been not knowing the coast, not knowing the water. But yes, that kind of a specialization where they can handle the boat, they can be in the water. So that's the reason why we are having this technical cadre coming up. We are getting people outsourced from ex-Navy and ex-Coast Guard personnel. So they are becoming the kind of a complement to our regular police force.
So thank you very much, Mr. Vipul Kumar. So any more questions? We have one question in the chat box here from Divya Jyoti Saha. She's inquiring about the effects of the exploitation of Karnataka coast for creating fisheries, and the effects of it on coral findings of corals in the Udupi region. So this is for Dr. Shiv Kumar Magadha. So what is your take on that, sir?
We have 8.6 million life forms in the entire earth. 8.6 million. 6.5 million on the earth, 2.7 on the aquatic side. Except human being, all animals are congenial, compatible, they are going well with the nature. So because of the anthropogenic activity, pollution, global warming, all that, and over exploitation, resources have been declined by 85% all over the world. We have only 34,500 fish species identified till date. 85% of fisheries is over exploited. So now we have to use our ingenuity to protect their population, conserve their population, judicious exploitation of the resources. And definitely because of the pollution and other anthropogenic activities, all our corals are under severe threat. Why Udupi? The entire world. So definitely we have all the knowledge, ingenuity to minimize the degradation rate. And we have to at Divya Jyoti Saha, we cannot dive into the sea. Please educate the people to be responsible, and rest all in our respective field, let us be responsible. That's all. Each one of us have the roles.
So thank you, Dr. Magadha, for that. So I think as I don't see any more queries, and there is none coming from the audience also.
Excuse me, Mr. Pai. I think there are a couple of questions in the chat box. If you'd have a look.
I could find only one. I think
to scroll
some
further
light
down.
on the progress made on Sagarmala. I think Mr. P.B. Rao has made, and I think Captain has responded to it.
So there's one more question. There was mention of 64 coastal islands in Karnataka territorial waters.
Yes, yeah, I skipped it. Sorry, extremely sorry. Rishi Atreya, yeah. there was a mention about 64 coastal islands in Karnataka territorial waters. Are these significant enough? Significant in economic and security terms? Security terms. This is for I think Mr. Shivkumar Magada, or I think Captain should take this.
Well, very recently, we have prepared a tourism plan for the entire coast. We have 93 beaches in 3 districts, and at least if we can develop 10 to 20 beaches, definitely it will be a game changer for the coastal villages. Of course, there are islands and kudrus all along the coast and inland islands also within the reservoirs. But for now, we are not in a position to invest huge money on such things, and it will be a dead waste. So definitely, out of 93 beaches, some of the beaches like Podubidri Beach, Kanangad Beach, some of the beaches, Sasitlu Beach, they are fit for the blue flag beach, and they can be developed, and it will add value in terms of footfalls, in terms of livelihood, and definitely the economy will circulate among the local people. This is called inclusive economic growth. It is possible. About the small islands, it requires huge investment in in terms of infrastructure and the safety measures. That's why the recovery will take very long time. Unless some countries they completely dependent on water bodies, waterfronts for their economy, they will invest on it. But we are not in such position that we cannot waste such huge money from the exchequer. And very recently the Palpe waterway, which was constructed at the cost of 80 lakhs, it is washed off. So likewise, careful investment is required. Definitely, islands in the form of boot or a PPP model may be viable, not from the government's money. Thank you.
If there are no questions, I would, with your permission, I would like to end the session and hand over the proceedings to Professor Jairaj.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody, for this lovely session. It was really very enlightening. I'm sure that all the participants have actually enjoyed listening to the new ideas that were thrown up by the speakers here. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Shashidhar Pai Marvel for chairing this session and conducting the sessions in such a neat form. I am also thankful to all the speakers, Professor Shivkumar Magada, Sri Vipul Kumar, and Captain C Swami, who actually enlightened us on different issues. Thank you so much. We have a little overshot the time. I actually apologize with the chairperson and the speakers of the next session, but I assure them that they will have their full time for their deliberations. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. For the session 3. Yeah. So we will actually now move on to session 4. That is session 3. That is maritime governance. I'm sure that Lieutenant General Prakash Menon is ready with this team.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Now this session is on maritime governance, and the chairing the session is Lieutenant General Prakash Menon. There are 4 speakers on this particular this thing. So we will have about 1.5 hour to 1 hour 45 minutes devoted to this particular session. Now, before I hand over my mic to Lieutenant General Dr. Prakash Menon, I would like to very briefly introduce him. Lieutenant General Prakash Menon was an infantry officer and has served for nearly 40 years in the army. He has extensive operational experience in Siachen Glacier and North, South, and Central Kashmir. He has a PhD from Madras University on nuclear deterrence and has served as a military advisor in the National Security Council Secretariat. Presently, he is a director, Strategic Studies Program at Takshashila Institution, Bangalore. He is also serving as an adjunct professor at NIAS, and also as Professor Emeritus at the University of Transdisciplinary Health Sciences and Technology, Bangalore. Lieutenant General Prakash Menon is a well-known writer and is also the author of a very famous book, Strategic Trap, and he regularly contributes weekly columns for the print. So I think we have in him the blend of professional and also an academic. So I would now request Lieutenant General Prakash Menon to have the floor and to start the proceedings. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everybody, especially the students for whom this event is being staged. And I'm sure you've heard a lot of opinions from people who come from various backgrounds, varied experiences, but I would want to remind the students that you need to actually not just take it in, but think about what the speakers are telling you. Don't just be something which you need to fill your minds, you need to think about it. It should trigger your thoughts. And the first thought, which I think should have been triggered by now, is the importance of the maritime domain in India's future, its progress, and its development. And I think that's an obvious statement, especially since geopolitically we are blocked off from the north, west, and nearly from the east. It is in the maritime waters that India's future lies. And therefore, the topic of this seminar is important to understand. And we must also admit that India has been rather tardy in actually exploiting what nature has given us, what international law has given us, especially this just Professor Shiv Kumar compared the continental shelf area and the area of India's EEZ. And I think from that particular figure itself, there is a lot of potential out there. So if there is one thing about this, it's about how do we actually govern our maritime benevolence, what nature and international system has given to us. So this session is going to be about maritime governance. And the first speaker of this session is Dr. Guru Prasad, who's an IPS officer, former DGP of Karnataka, and he's going to speak about the relevance of the Marine Police. Now, the echoes of the Marine Police have been found, actually already must have reached your ears in every session. And we have had very different views of what is this police, what is the capability of this police which we have, how do we improve it? And in the morning we heard, I think, Commodore Rao talking about the human capital problems, and we just now heard the IGP. So I think this is a very important topic because in the end, the Marine Police, depending upon what the structure is and the human capital of that structure will depend its efficiency. And on that note, I hand you over to Dr. Guru Prasad, and just want to remind the speakers, there are 4 of us here. So if you can, we're already over time. If you can keep yours within 15 to maximum 20 minutes, we'll be doing well. So over to you, Dr. Guru Prasad. No, you have got to put on a mic, please. Yeah.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಕರಾವಳಿಯವರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗುರುಪ್ರಸಾದ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. You see the very subject, the relevance of coastal policing. I have to recount history to remind ourselves as to why marine policing is relevant. You all remember the cache of 3,000 kilos of RDX explosives landed at Raigad port in Maharashtra. The explosives that were landed in Raigad landing point went all the way to Mumbai, where simultaneous blasts took place. 1993, you know what happened? One of the perpetrators, Yaqub Menon, has already been hanged to death in this case. This happened in 1993. Again, in 2006, for 13 years, nothing happened. But even if something has happened, we don't know about it. 2006, what happened was a cache of arms came to Shekadi port. Shekadi port. And the explosives, AK-47 rifles, etc., were being taken through that port to various parts of Maharashtra. The cache was intercepted thanks to the intelligence collected by the Intelligence Bureau in Delhi. They alerted the DGP of Maharashtra, who in turn alerted the local anti-terrorism squad, and it was intercepted. Death penalty has been given to 3 persons in that particular case. Even after 2006, we didn't do anything. We didn't understand the relevance of marine policing. In 2008, what happened, we all know. One of the speakers in the morning has already drawn out how exactly the terrorists came from Karachi, how they landed in Mumbai, what they did in Mumbai on 26/11. After the Mumbai attack, all of us woke up from our slumber and decided that yes, we have the Navy to guard our coast. We have the Coast Guard to guard our coast. But the most important element in preventing such activities, the police, marine police, is missing. But as my friend Mr. Vipul Kumar told in the morning, Karnataka was one of the first states in the country to establish marine policing. 1999, we established Coastal Security Police. We established Coastal Security Police not because of what happened in Mumbai in 1993, but because the coast of Karnataka was traditionally known to be a haven of smugglers. As we know from times immemorial, gold and other imported goods used to come from Gulf region to Karnataka. You know, I remember as a very young police officer, we would go to Bhatkal and then go to the Bhatkal market to buy imported goods. And to prevent smuggling, the coastal police was set up in 1999. But subsequently, after the terrorist attack in Mumbai, we reorganized the whole thing. And as Mr. Vipul Kumar mentioned earlier, from 2008 onwards, it is part of the internal security division of Karnataka State Police. We have 9 police stations all along the coast. We have an SP who is headquarters in Udupi, and we have a large number of people. The government of India has made available to the Coastal Security Police, all the 9 police stations in Karnataka, adequate men and materials. We have no shortage of men. The IG has already mentioned that we have a special type of body called the Sagar Rakshana Dala. The Sagar Rakshana Dala is a unique concept. It is a concept like the village defense party, which we used to have way back in the 1960s and 1970s. This is a body of people who are trained to look for suspicious activities in their villages, suspicious people, strangers who come in their vicinity, and alert the police about such activities. Because the Karnataka police doesn't have proper training in coastal security policing, we also have the Karavali Niyantrana Dala. Karavali Niyantrana Dala is is an adjunct of the coastal police. This is a force which is comprising mainly of people who have drawn up from the coastal villages of Karnataka and who are helping the police in maintaining the 320-kilometer long coastline in Karnataka. The Karavali Niyantrana Dala and the Sagar Rakshana Dala SRD, these two are unique concepts in Karnataka. As I said earlier, we have no dearth of manpower, we have no dearth of equipment. The government of India has made available extremely good boats. We have got, I think we have been allotted 15 boats to patrol. We patrol the 12 nautical miles around our coast. As you are already aware, whenever we speak about security, we speak about rings of security. All of us have heard of in Kannada, Yelu Suttina Kote, the 7 tiers of security. Chanakya wrote about it. So the first tier of security is the coastal security police. That is the first ring, innermost ring. When we talk of PM security, we talk of the close proximate protection. The close proximate protection of coastal security comes from marine policing in India. The second ring is the Coast Guard. The third ring is the Indian Navy. So let us understand how important this close proximate ring of marine policing is in not only Karnataka, anywhere else. Is this close protection ring strong? Now, the CSP has been established in 1999. Till now, thank God, Karnataka has not had any important terrorist cases, terrorists coming from the sea or explosives, arms, ammunition landing from the sea in Karnataka. We have not heard of any major cases. To that extent, we must compliment ourselves. I don't compliment only the marine police. I compliment all the agencies involved. The 3 agencies, they have been successful in preventing arms, ammunitions, explosives landing in the Karnataka coast. To this extent, we have done tremendously well. The second objective of coastal marine policing is to prevent infiltration and exfiltration. Have we succeeded in this? I really do not know, but I am aware of a case wherein some Sri Lankan nationals who were being trafficked to Gulf countries through India were intercepted in Dakshina Kannada district in Mangalore recently, and they have been arrested. I think about 27-28 persons of Sri Lankan origin have been arrested in Mangalore. So this to the credit of Karnataka police, we must say that we have prevented in exfiltration of nationals from Karnataka coast to other countries. Infiltration, have we been able to prevent infiltration? I don't know. It's very tough call to take, because we have taken up a lot of preventive measures to prevent infiltration. What is happening is we have already color coded the fishing boats. There are a large number of fishing boats in Karnataka, and most of these fishing boats carry 15 to 20 persons. These 20 persons go out in the sea for fishing. We have been able to give, I think Karnataka police till now has given 81,000 identity cards to the fishermen who go out in the sea. When they come back from fishing, there is a method to check whether the people who have actually gone in our fishing boats have come back intact. All of them have come back, or there is a +1 or -1. That particular thing we really don't know. I'm not really aware whether we have been able to detect something. Nowadays, the problem that the coastal security police faces is that earlier days, if a fishing boat went from Malpe or Mangalore or Udupi, the fishermen used to be from the same community, same area. Now, since the labor has become very scarce, people from other states of India are also coming. They have not been provided with any identity cards. Probably we have to depend on the Aadhaar cards. So, in so far as infiltration of people from other countries coming into our coast, I do not know. This is still our weak link, I should say. Next is collection of intelligence. The main reason for coastal security police, we are expected to collect a lot of intelligence about who are the people who are coming, what sort of arms ammunition is coming, and for that, in that extent, we have been able to collect good information. We have been able to collect and pass on the information to the concerned authority, and with the result that we have been able to prevent a lot of crimes. To that extent, crime prevention and intelligence collection, we have achieved quite well. The only field in which I think we have not done so well is prevention of infiltration or exfiltration. This is a very tough task indeed. Earlier in the session, somebody asked a question whether there should be the permanent staff for the CSP police stations. Mr. Vipul Kumar has already answered. It is very difficult. It is not necessary to have permanent staff in the police stations, because right now the Karavali Niyantrana Dala KND, it is comprising of people from within the coastal region, and they are able to provide continuity for the coastal security police, and the Sagar Rakshana Dal is also there. Therefore, it is not necessary. So we have the adequate manpower, we have the equipment, we have good resources, and I am very happy to share with you the excellent cooperation that the Karnataka State Police, the Coastal Police, is getting from the Coast Guard as well as the Indian Navy, especially in training our men, in training them in handling the various sophisticated gadgets they are having. The Coast Guard and the Karavali Police are having regular training sessions. They are having regular mock drills. They have very good synergy between them. The Indian Navy is also very close to us. Very close to us. The Karwar in our port itself. There is in Karnataka there is the Karwar port. So the Indian Navy is also very cooperative. So with the cooperation of the Coast Guard, Indian Navy, the Karnataka State Police has so far done well in preventing the marine offences. Has smuggling been prevented? Maybe yes, because of this. I was just looking at the figures of what are the types of cases that have been reported in CSP police stations in the past 3-4 years. Most of the cases relate to narcotic drugs, NDPS Act cases, or the majority of the cases that the Coastal Security Police has handled this previous few years. So, if at all any smuggling is taking place, it is only the smuggling of narcotic drugs. You must have heard recently in a port in Gujarat, a large cache of narcotic drugs was seized from a ship. So now we have to worry more about narcotics, because the smuggling of explosives and arms and ammunition to Indian coast has literally come down thanks to the tight coastal security we are having. But we cannot say the same about the narcotic drugs that are coming. So we have to be very careful about these narcotic drugs. I also have a point to tell before I close. I don't really want to take 15 or 20 minutes time that has been given to me graciously by all of you. In the morning, one of the speakers spoke about water wing of the BSF. I have a suggestion as a former policeman. If we can think of a policy wherein BSF water wing can also be introduced as one more ring of security. We have the Indian Navy, and then probably the Coast Guard, and at the third ring, if we introduce the BSF water wing, and make the marine policing, the civil police of all the state polices to take care of only the police stations and handle investigation, handle prevention, handle collection of intelligence, then I think we will be achieving a lot in securing our country. And with this, I end my presentation, and thank you so much for giving me a patient hearing. Ellarigu namaskara.
Of the Marine Police, and I think you made that point very clear. And the very interesting suggestion you made towards the end, that you bring in another element into the ring, which would be, I mean, according to you, should be in terms of the water wing of the BSF. Of course, everything, suggestions like that, has its pluses and minuses, but it's an interesting issue which you have highlighted. Now we'll move on to the next speaker, who is Mr. Ahmed, who is the Commissioner of Customs in Mangalore. He's going to speak on the role of customs. He represents the regulatory framework of bringing people and goods into and out of the coast. So over to you, Mr. Ahmed.
Respected Chair, Dr. Prakash Menon, respected Dr. D.V. Guru Prasad sir, our previous speaker, other dignitaries, Professor Jairaj Amin, who is the one who invited me for this conference webinar. I have shared one presentation, PPT. I will request if
Yes, sir. You can share now, sir.
you have to share. So basically, in one word, when we talk about customs role in as a security agency, we are termed as guardians of economic frontiers. So our main role, apart from tax collection or assessment, is also to secure the frontiers, especially economic frontiers, the cargo, how it reaches India, secure cargo, and the people also, movement of people across the borders.
Mr. Ahmed, can you give your slideshow? Because, yeah, just click down below on the right side.
Yeah. So I'll be doing it manually.
No, you can give it a full screen. This thing, at the moment, your side screen is also being seen. You can just click on the right side. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you're on. Yeah, thanks.
So Our functions mainly, apart from, as I told, revenue collection, that is assessment and collection of customs duty. Now there is a lot of focus on trade facilitation, then investigation, and also we are trying to see how the transaction costs for export and import can be reduced. We are taking different measures, and then enforcement, which has been historically a core function of the department. Regarding enforcement, this maintenance of security of India, if we talk more in general terms, then prevention of smuggling of gold, silver, narcotics, arms and ammunition, foreign currency, objects of arts and antiquities. So this historically, this has been important role of customs in detecting and preventing the smuggling of various items, and also protection of national treasures. Many of you must have seen in the news items how this people are trying to take antique items or very old statues, and so we are in the front line of stopping that. Then protection of human, animal, and plant life or health related issues, fulfillment of obligations under the Charter of United Nations for the maintenance of internal security and peace. So apart from Customs Act, we are also responsible for implementing other allied acts like Foreign Exchange Management Act. CITES is one important area where officers are also trained. Then NDPS, recently you must have seen how customs, especially the intelligence wing, Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, is detecting a huge quantity of narcotics drugs, which is smuggled in India. Then Arms Act, DGFT related export import policies, plant quarantine, animal quarantine, food safety standards. We are also, our officers are working as FSI officers at the port and airports, wherever the FSI officers are posted. So we all know that our country has a vast stretch of almost 7,500 kilometers of coastline, and many of the speakers has mentioned that we are very strategically located in the world's maritime route. And also previous speakers have mentioned that how this maritime trade is catering to almost more than 90% of trade volume and more than 70% in terms of value. So this is our sovereign jurisdiction extends up to 12 nautical miles, and this jurisdiction in matters like smuggling, immigration, pollution, etc., it is extend to 24 nautical miles, and exclusive economic zone, that is up to 200 nautical miles for exploitation of economic resources. So that threats and vulnerability of our coastlines, maritime terrorism, this word is being used like any terrorist attack or acts uh, related to our vessels which is coming to India, or that fixed platforms, sea ports, the passengers or personnel against coastline facilities. So it all tourist resorts, port areas. So our presence is very much there. Smuggling and trafficking Indian coasts have been susceptible to smuggling gold, electronic goods, narcotics, arms and ammunition through sea for a long time, and then infiltration, illegal migration, and influx of refugees. So these are the main threats. World Customs Organization, which is the international organization regulating the customs functions, has almost it has a membership of almost 180 countries, and this is the only global organization which defines global standards and custom clearances at the border, and their implementation. Established in the year 1952, the Customs Cooperation Council is an independent intergovernmental body whose mission is to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of customs administration. India is a member of WCO since 1971 and has been participating actively in all its various activities and functions. WCO Border Security Initiative provides members with capacity building, and there is a thing called exchange of this personnel also, like officers, customs officers or revenue officers. They are going for different type of trainings, which is organized by WCO. Objective of this initiative is to facilitate members' activities aimed at implementing measures, whether standards, guidance, IT tools, operations, and specialized trainings to enhance their border security management capacities. This Punta Cana resolution by WCO, which says that customs authorities around the world are the first line of defense against many criminal and violent extremist and terrorist organizations that exploit international boundaries, thereby highlighting the importance role of national customs agencies in border security through management of the movement of goods, money, people, and other means of transport across borders. World Customs Organization CF Framework Standards in June 2005, the WCO Council adopted SAFE Framework, which will act or which is acting as a deterrent to international terrorism, to secure revenue collections, and to promote trade facilitation worldwide. It also provides for the sharing of intelligence and close cooperation between customs and other law enforcement agencies to achieve the common objective in the context of border security. If we talk about coastal security, it is a subset of maritime security and represents the ability of a state to preserve its national security interest in its coastal zone against all maritime threats, not only in times of peace, but also in times of conflict. So it has many facets: coastal border management, island security, the maintenance of good law and order enforcement in coastal zones, and also security of coastal installation vessels and peoples engaged in maritime activities. In the maritime context, border management also includes coastal border management. The multi-agency coastal security construct developed after the Mumbai blast of 2611 also provides a mechanism in preventing unauthorized movement of people and goods across coastal maritime borders, especially in areas outside notified custom ports. In other words, the overall approach of anti-smuggling is through customs enforcement in notified customs port, and also through the coastal security constructs in other areas where there are no major ports or minor ports. India is, I just mentioned that India is surrounded by 7,500 kilometers of coastline and 15,000, more than 15,000 kilometers of land borders. And customs has a notable presence, especially in coastlines, as if we compare with other borderlines. Customs has always been associated with sea and airports. Prior to independence, customs functioned under the Sea Customs Act 1878. Now we have Customs Act of 1962. The porous coastal line susceptible to smugglers and anti-nationals in the late 60s and up to early 90s. We have seen peak of smuggling activities mainly related to gold when there was a Gold Control Act. So there were a lot of smuggling activities, and it was also used by anti-social elements. We have heard a lot about the underworld, how they were using this money generated through smuggling of gold in the anti-national activities. So, and that point of time before 90s, they also wanted to make a quick urgent they wanted to make a quick buck. It was mainly customs and then the navy who were present in the sea at that point of time. The customs is empowered to enforce Customs Act up to 12 nautical miles of Indian customs water, and we have a separate intelligence wing, Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, which has developed a strong intelligence network in the coastal areas and built a strong presence in the seas. We have a unit in Mangalore also, a zonal unit in Bangalore, and all the major coastal areas and cities are having DRI intelligence units. Before the formation of Indian Coast Guard, in the year 1978, Customs had exclusive presence in the Indian Customs water. And through a deployment of effective arrangements and control measures at the borders, we are trying to secure the national economic prosperity, economic development, public health and safety, and national security. India's if we talk about historically in the 1960s, the seaborne smuggling of goods was threatening India's domestic economy. Customs Department frequently called upon the Indian Navy for assistance with patrol and interception in the anti-smuggling efforts. Indian till in the year 1974, the Customs Marine Organization was formed. In the year 1974, Indian Cabinet set up a committee with the participation from Indian Navy, Air Force, and the Department of Revenue to examine the gaps in coastal maritime security. And then the Coast Guard was created, formed in the year 1978. After that, in January 1982, the Government of India sanctioned the merger of Customs Marine Organization from the Department of Revenue with the Indian Coast Guard. So, as I mentioned about the different agencies within the department which are dealing exclusively with smuggling activities and preventive functions of the department. Directorate of Logistics is providing the logistic support, and especially after 26/11 2008, we have around 109 interceptor vessels. In Mangalore, we are having seven boats, including 2 speed boats. We have marine staff posted in major ports, all major ports, and we are also taking care of, it is not only a station at one place, we are patrolling across the coast, and we are also trying to see that any anti-smuggling activities are prevented. All these interceptor vessels are equipped with GPS, radar, and all the systems. We also are having joint operations like Sagar Kavach, that is with Coast Guard, and Operation Sajak. Every month we are having again with Coast Guard. So recently, as I mentioned, the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence and the Indian Coast Guard had made very major detections and joint operations called Khojbeen. It was like they intercepted 2 fishing boats off the coast of Lakshadweep Island and seized 218 kg of heroin worth rupees more than 1500 crores. And I'm proud to say one officer who was posted here in Mangalore till recently, he was part of the operation. Kapil Gade, Deputy Director. Now he's in Chennai. We also had a major case, some of the speakers also mentioned, in September 2021, 3,000 kgs of heroin was caught in Mundra port. And in 2019, DRI, in coordination with Indian Coast Guard, seized 217 kg of heroin from a fishing vessel off the Gujarat coast. So these are the major seizures by DRI along with other agencies, and in fact, day in day out, this DRI is making cases. Our role in preventing and smuggling smuggling activities, we are doing risk profiling. We have a very robust system of intelligence gathering and sharing. In fact, we give rewards also to the informers. In fact, 20% of the amount or of the value of the goods we are giving as rewards to the informers. And we also are using forensic techniques and other metal detectors, or recently we have installed one container scanner in our Mangalore port. We are using different latest devices for detecting smuggling or in respect of cargo, and also to ensure that the containers which are being imported don't contain any arms and ammunition or any contraband goods.
Mr. Ahmed, if you could just 2 minutes, if you could wind up.
In supply chain, or a role, how to secure the supply chain overall, that is very important. And we try to ensure we have like implemented one authorized economic operators scheme. So in case of exports, almost 95% of the cargo is allowed without any assessment or examination. In case of imports, we are allowing more than 70% of the cargo without any, that is all risk-based assessment. We hardly, we try to see that after profiling only, we open the cargo and consignment and examine it and then allow it. So this, because of lack of time, we are also having, as I mentioned, risk management system. There is a Directorate General of Data Analytics and Management. So it is centralized. They are selecting the containers which are to be scanned, or cargo or vessel which has to be examined in detail. It is all risk based. So as I mentioned about Directorate of Logistics, who are giving logistics support. DRI, already I mentioned how it has a pan-India presence, and they are in the forefront of having anti-smuggling and activities. Already I mentioned about data analytics, and so this I will just skip legal provisions in detail. I have mentioned, in fact, Customs Act provides for seizure or this of goods, or this. We also have powers to power of arrest. Also, the statement given before the customs officers in admissible in the court of law. So these are the main provisions. Because of lack of time, I am just skipping that. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. That was a majestic sweep of your organization. And let's move to the third speaker, who is going to speak on managing coastal security. And he's Mr. Vijay Chafkar, who's the former additional DG of the Coast Guard. And before he actually gives his views, I would request him to comment upon the suggestion which was made by a fellow panelist, Dr. Guru Prasad, on the creation or the use of the BSF water wing for coastal security. So over to you, Mr. Vijay Chafkar.
Thank you, sir. In the meantime, I'll request Dr. Jairaj. I would have to share the screen for my PPT, and then as it happens, I'll comment on the point which was made by.
Yes, you can share it. You can share it.
Can I share now?
Yeah, I think you can share.
Yes, sir. Share now, sir.
Sorry, I'm not able to locate. Oh.
Yeah, or else Venkatesh or Arun can share it. The speaker has some issues.
Wait, sir. Wait. 1 minute. Wait to share.
Can you, not yet, screen is on.
Sir, it shows.
This cannot share. It says cannot share. Content cannot share content.
We are sharing from here.
Yeah. Oh yes. Now yeah.
Is okay, sir?
Yeah. Now it's yes. And disregard the number of slides which are coming as 85, which is not correct. By erroneously it is appearing. There are only about 32 slides. Okay. Before I start, I would like to comment on that BSF water wing coming in. BSF water wing comes into picture because there are certain border areas which the creek areas or the Sundarbans areas where the requirement of area of jurisdiction, which is the BSF on the land borders, overlaps with the water bodies, and that is how BSF comes into picture. I do not feel, in my personal opinion, it will add anything by adding, because it's not about more the merrier. We have Coast Guard, Navy, and Marine Police, and there was earlier discussion of creating another organization to, on the behalf of all the state governments, to look into the coastal security, close shore security. But then also, at the same time, the similar views emerged that we do not need one more organization to the three organizations in that domain now. I think they can definitely take care of the security requirements. And I understand the limitation which Marine Police will experience, like to become a seagoing service for the police is not so easy. And those are the challenges. But I do not even expect for the Navy and Coast Guard, that's why I earlier also said, we should have our working so robust that there is never a situation for Marine Police to deal with a significant threat coming from sea. So that's my view. Take this. I'm not able to operate the slide.
No. In fact, the slides are moving. Can you see the slide?
Yeah, I can see. But first, can you come to the first slide? Can you come to the first slide? Yes. Can I control from here? Will the slide change?
No, sir. It's not possible, sir.
Because
okay,
you're
because
the Coast Guard has lost control to the university. So
yeah, that's very.
Say next, sir.
Okay, fine.
Okay, sir.
Esteemed dignitaries, session chairman, General Menon, my co-panelists, participants, ladies and gentlemen. The topic given to me is managing coastal security. So we can see the distinction is being made between maritime and coastal security. But then what is coastal? Sometimes we see people referring to Indian Coast Guard as coastal guard and thinking about Coast Guard job in a very basic literal sense as to guard the coast, Coast Guard to guard the coast. But if we look at, next slide, next, preamble of the Coast Guard Act 1978, no, go back, yeah. Preamble of the Coast Guard Act 1978, it mandates security of maritime zones of India with a view to protect maritime and other national interests in the maritime zone. So, protecting India's national interests in the maritime zones which extend to 200 nautical miles, that is 360 kilometers and beyond, the job is hardly coastal. And first line if you go, security of maritime zones, which is not same as maritime zone security, because we look at the specific statutory functions of the Coast Guard. Next slide. It is about anti-poaching, which includes also marine environment protection, and in totality, it is about marine resource protection. Next slide. offshore security, next, and safety of life and property at sea. Therefore, security of maritime zones is about safety and security at sea. Whereas, next, during 1933 Mumbai blast and 26/11, we had a security challenge emanating from sea. The seas were used as a medium to carry out attack on land. In this backdrop, next, through CCS directives, Government of India delineated maritime security functions as shown on the slide. And here I would like to draw attention particularly to this coastal security in territorial waters, which means coastal security is referred to as security in territorial waters. Now, it does not mean anybody presume that threat originates in the territorial waters. But what it means is there are some significant legal enforcement issues in the territorial waters. Next. And those are the sovereignty of the coastal state extends to the limits of territorial waters. And then there are central agencies legislation and the state agencies legislations which are to be enforced through respective departments. Even the major ports jurisdiction in some cases extends up to 12 nautical miles. So now we can see that there are multiple central and state jurisdiction and enforcement requirements. But does that reason enough to look at coastal security separately from maritime security? Next. This is a typical picture of shipping traffic. And this is an AIS picture. Therefore, every dot which you see, that is a ship which can be identified positively and monitored and also communicated with and interrogated. Add to this tens of thousands of fishing boats which are out at sea at any given time. And that is how dense is the maritime domain. And it is very dense in the close shore area. And as we go away from coast, it gets thinning, it thins down, and beyond 100 miles the fishing activity is minimal. But it is threat detection in the close shore area is extremely difficult because of the density of maritime domain density. Next. We have this chain of static sensors. This is a radar chain. They do help in detections. However, is this pictorial representation on the slide creates an illusion of gap-free security. Reason being, in the absence of transponders on the fishing boat, the clusters and thousands of the fishing boats paint as a dot on, and therefore only through physical boarding where we can really verify or confirm whether it is a threat or a genuine fishing boat. And boarding all those boats are practically or rather impracticable. We have also seen during our simulated exercises that a fast-moving boat will cover 12 nautical miles within less than 1 hour. So even if the threat is detected, you divert a resource and then intercept it, there's a very high probability that threat will reach the shore. Therefore, if the threat coming from the high seas and EEZ, as it happened in the Mumbai case or 93 blast, if it reaches the territorial waters, it should be presumed that the security has been breached. Therefore, next. The principal lesson for managing, go back. The principal lesson for managing The principal lesson for managing coastal security, therefore, is threat should be detected and neutralized as far away as possible from the coast. It is true that there are several incidents that occur and there are violations in the territorial waters, but in terms of intensity, they do not constitute any serious maritime security threat. Next. And these low intensity incidents which happen frequently, as shown, there are armed robbery attacks on the merchant ships, breach of safety zones around the offshore installations, customs and immigration violation, and wireless act violation like Thuraya transmission on Thuraya assets is banned in India. So it occurs by any of the vessel, it is termed as violation, it has to be dealt for a very minor penalty, and the fishing and shipping incidents. The high intensity incidents which are less frequent like attack on offshore assets, including hijacking of a safe tanker and a piracy attack or a terror attack, including a possible state-sponsored attack. Next. The graphical representation in terms of intensity and low frequency of this maritime security challenges. And I have drawn it from the book by Dr. Paleri. Next, click one more. At the lower level, it shows that there are low intensity and frequently occurring incidents are dealt by marine police, customs, fishery, port authorities, and multiple other agencies, and in coordination with Coast Guard if required. And at the other end, next, click please. We have high intensity threats, including a threat sponsored by, say, state actor causing a national defense concern, which is domain of Indian Navy. Next. And in the middle space, go back, in the middle space, the overlapping responsibility with the agencies operating in the territorial waters and Indian Navy for the maritime zones or EEZ and beyond, the shared responsibility by Coast Guard. Now, this was a formulation which was made before 2611, but since then, a lot has changed. And what is it? Next slide. With the huge increase in the surface assets, both of Navy and Coast Guard, and the air assets also, there has been big boost to the surveillance capacity, which has also been supported by the electronic surveillance capability. It is said that pervasive surveillance in the visual and electronic medium is something going to remain constant, because that is our best bet to ensure our security. And notwithstanding the Coast Guard responsibility in the territorial waters as given by the CCS directives, the most of the Coast Guard deployment, almost 50% of ship deployment is beyond territorial waters into the EEZ. And the aerial surveillance by the Dorniers, almost 90% of it is carried out in the EEZ for safety and security. And how much is that 90% of aerial surveillance by Dornier? It works out to something like 10 to 12,000 hours per year, 10 to 12,000 hours of surveillance per annum. Then post 2611, we have this SOPs, joint SOPs promulgated between Navy and Coast Guard for the security and surveillance. And these SOPs are exercised to regular quarterly exercises, which have been mentioned earlier. And they're backed by the better improved maritime domain awareness. This has been constant improvement in the coastal security mechanism. Here, island security is mentioned, and it is not about Lakshadweep Islands or Andaman Islands, but as was earlier mentioned, about 64 islands itself of Karnataka coast. So islands which are in the off the coastal states. There are several such islands which were uninhabited and unattended, and they were seen as a source of threat. Now, next slide. Next. Next slide, please. There has been, go back, please. There has been joint patrolling by Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Police, which were inaccessible areas, so there are Coast Guard aircraft take part, but particularly those islands which are there off the coast and uninhabited islands. Next. Boarding operations, as I said, in the absence of transponders, we cannot identify those boats by our chain of static sensors. The physical boarding is crucial to create deterrence, and we carry out, every ship going out at sea is instructed to carry out as many boardings as possible. In addition, once in a month, uninformed or without any advance notice, from dawn to dusk, every operational ship is sailed out on that particular day, and every single boat that they come across that is boarded. Idea is to create such a high probability of detection that our adversaries do not try to make use of the same strategy of hijacking a boat and trying to penetrate. And not just the fishing boats. Even there are ships of concern. We have the pre-arrival notifications of the merchant ships, and from their past history and the ports they have visited in the past, if there is a concern, then such ships are visited or met by our Coast Guard Dornier up to 200 nautical miles, and then intermediate layer ships meet them. And before they enter the port, the smaller interceptor boat shadow them till the time they reach inside. Again, the idea is to send a message of deterrence that and waters are under surveillance, constant surveillance, and we want that adversaries should not try the same thing again. Next. Fishing community is very important component in our maritime security construct. So amongst this community interaction program, we have this outreach of safety instructions, gifting the life jackets and medical camps. But more than that, Coast Guard conducted a dedicated program for inducting children from coastal villages, particularly from the fishing community. Recently, there was a news that Government of India has announced that CRPF will induct children from the Naxal affected areas, and those will be with relaxation of induction qualification. That is, where the 10th passes the qualification to induct at the lowest level, the 8th pass students will be taken. They will be part of CRPF and complete their 8th to 10th election in CRPF. I think something like this is required to induct children from fishing community, and I don't have to tell why it is so important for our maritime security mechanism to have people from coastal community, particularly the fishing community, part of not just Coast Guard, but Marine Police and all other agencies which are stakeholders in maritime security. Next. Then yes, joint operation centers have enabled better interagency coordination and particularly in sharing proactive in-base operations. There have been phenomenal success in actual intercepting the forces inimical to our security. Next. As we have seen that like in 80s and 90s, there was gold and silver smuggling despite. In the recent past, there has been a drug smuggling and in one case, arms smuggling also. But we feel it is a very serious challenge to our security because drug smuggling also probably goes into funding of the terror. The two areas which I have seen Lakshadweep Islands and the Gujarat coast and IMPL. Next. This was the catch, which was not about just about drugs, but also AK-47 rifles and 1,000 rounds of ammunition, which happened in 2021. Next. And in the same area, again in the Lakshadweep Islands and Minicoy, the second catch was there. In the meantime, it was not there that only that area was so sensitive that some of the boats escaped in the neighboring countries' waters, but we had a good coordination with the Coast Guard agencies of the neighboring countries, and those boats were arrested in the waters of the neighboring countries. Next. There has been a series of interception in the off Gujarat coast, and thanks to Gujarat ATS, they have been fantastic in their information and the rate of success which we have achieved in the catching this infiltrating boats. Next. This one is particularly very important because this drug catch happened when the COVID wave was picking up. Next. And here you can see April 21, the country was hit by the very strong second wave of COVID and people were really terrorized by COVID. At that time, putting on bulletproof jacket and having PPE kit on top of that and sustaining the operation was a really phenomenal task. But it was continued as shown on the slide, the success rate. The next slide. Go back. Back. And go back. Next. Yes, this is April. Oh, go back. Back. Stop here. This is April. Next. Oh. Next.
This one, sir?
Yeah, this one. This is April 22. What I want to say is that this tempo is sustained to intercept, and why it is happening, one of the big credit to is the element of surprise which has been ensured so that this series of operations have been successful in the of Gujarat coast and IMPL. Next. This is one typical case which is of 2017. The MV Henry. There was information again about a vessel coming with some contraband, and number of vessels were being checked. Nothing was found in this vessel initially, but this vessel was bound to Alang and having visited earlier some dubious ports in the Iran and Pakistan. After thorough boarding, it was found that, if you can see here, these are the ballards of the ships. Inside these ballards, there were the drug packets. They had to be cut open. So what would have happened if this ship was not intercepted? It was going to Alang for shipbreaking on the last voyage. All this steel would have been sold out as a scrap, and this almost 5,000 crore worth of drug would have reached the country through that shipbreaking yard. I wanted to point out from here that how our deterrence is not sufficient, why these people are attempting to use the ships to bring in the drugs in our country. Next.
If you can, I got 2 minutes. If you can just wind up. in
Yeah,
2
I'm finishing. 1 minute I'll take. That's all. Here you can see this is a ship called Basra Star. It was a Iraqi owner, and ship was Tanzanian flag, I suppose. There was information about this vessel right to get into the dubious activities. It was boarded, but it had all valid papers. It came off Ratnagiri by the time its registration, its insurance had expired. And therefore, there was a lot of correspondence as to we must act against this vessel as it doesn't have any valid documents, and also there are some suspicious activities involved about the vessel. However, the vessel continued to drift off Ratnagiri coast and finally got grounded. My point was, are we saying sufficiently clear message that can any vessel which doesn't have valid registration or not even insurance for its oil cargo which it was carrying can remain off our coast for 7-8 months and finally gets grounded? So that was a point I thought I must highlight. Next. These are the Chinese fishing vessels which were detected off Ratnagiri. Somebody else earlier mentioned about them. Now, they were into legitimate fishing in the high seas. They did not fish into the Indian waters, so there was no violation. And they were detected off Ratnagiri, and they had come for the repairs of Ratnagiri. So there was nothing wrong about it. But what is a matter of concern is they were detected only off Ratnagiri or in the territorial waters. They were not detected where their transit. So if they were the vessels of concern, they would have already reached the territorial waters without being detected before. The point I want to say is that we have series of coastal security exercises which are done every quarter. Everybody knows about it, those security exercises we do. But because we call it coastal security exercise, the area of that exercise is only 12 nautical miles. Whereas we should be putting to test our readiness up to 200 nautical miles or even beyond. Because as that I brought out earlier, it is easier to detect threat deep into the sea and not into the territorial waters. And therefore, I would like to conclude with this recommendation that next, it is a legitimate expectation of the citizens at large that another 26/11 should not happen. And for that reason, our maritime security mechanism should be sufficiently robust and deterrent that the adversaries do not attempt another terror strike via sea. If they do, there should be very high probability of detection and neutralization before the threat reaches the territorial waters. With that, I conclude. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much. And I think 2 points which needs to be noted is the multiplicity of activities and actors which we are talking about in the coastal security zone, maritime security zone. 1. 2, it is compounded by the number of actors within the government itself which has to deal with these issues. And I think these 2 points need to be noted, especially by the students concerned. Let's move over to the last speaker. I know we are slightly overshot our time, and he is Commander Subhash Datta, who is a former naval officer, but now in the corporate world is head of operations of Secotrec, and he is going to speak to us about maritime cyber security, an overview. Over to you, Commander.
Thank you, General Menon. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this still displaying a lot of patience. If you can allow me to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
ನಾನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ನಾನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
No, please allow me to share the screen. I'll control the presentation.
Venkatesh, you can close and allow the speaker to open there.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Because one of the problems about coastal security is always about who is in control.
Yes, sir.
Sir, now it's okay, sir.
Now it's not okay. So, what is happening is that I have logged in from two separate devices. So the
Okay,
one in which you see my video,
Sir,
please
yes, sir.
allow that user to share the
Now
screen.
is okay, sir. You can share now, sir.
Yes, I can. All right, we're good to go. Uh, so once again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, for affording me this opportunity to speak very briefly about cybersecurity in the maritime domain. I will very quickly cover these three very critical areas, draw out the cybersecurity landscape in 1 or 2 slides to save time, bring out the ramifications of the cybersecurity in the maritime domain, and very briefly cover the next steps that we need to take, or rather the maritime organizations need to take. I am not focused exclusively on the Indian maritime organizations as such, because the issues that are concerning the maritime organizations of the world. So therefore, the examples or the specifics that I will
Just speak into the
talk
mic,
about.
Subhash.
Right, sir. Can you hear me now clearly?
No, we can hear you clearly. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. All right. So, with this as the background, as you can see, there has been a steady increase in the global maritime trade. And as other speakers have also brought out, 80% of the volume and 70% or almost 50% by value is transacted through the global shipping zones. There has been a slight dip in the year 2020 because of this COVID pandemic, where the world shut down, and so therefore there was hardly any movement, but there was still some movement. So it has been, a difference of around 500 million tons overall, which was transacted. Complementing this is again the cybersecurity landscape, and if you see, there has again been a phenomenal increase in this sphere as well. Larger number of organizations are being targeted, more data is being exfiltrated, more value is being exfiltrated. Companies are spending more value. But what is of more importance, or what is of very critical importance, are the two red shaped boxes that you see at the bottom of the screen, which indicate that we are still not improving. These indices, that is 207 days to identify a breach and 280 days, almost 9 months, take to remediate that particular breach, going through that complete incident management life cycle of detection, remediation, recovery, and so on and so forth. It still takes around 9 months. It has been almost the same figures for quite some time now, despite having an absolutely clear idea about what is to be done by security organizations, how to go about putting security systems in place. We have still not improved in the overall scenario. I have taken very few critical incidents which have happened recently. I would like to bring out this first incident of June 2017, which was a malware called NotPetya. Naval officers would be familiar with this word Petya because it was one of the class of ships that the Navy was using for quite some time. NotPetya was a malware which was, as the name suggests, it was created by a Russian attack group, and it was targeting Ukrainian organizations in 2017. But as we have seen, in this hyper-connected world, it is very, very difficult to limit the cyber attacks or the cyber weapons on your intended targets only. Everybody is connected nowadays, so therefore, Maersk shipping was one of the unintended targets of this particular attack. Apart, of course, from a whole lot of Ukrainian organizations which went under, Maersk shipping, on the other hand, they had a complete loss of their all over IT systems. Thousands of servers, desktops, applications, they were all wiped out by this particular malware. One of the things that we were affected in India This same organization runs 2 shipping terminals or 2 container terminals at JNPT, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust in Mumbai. Both these terminals were completely shut down for a period of 3 months when all their IT systems were rebuilt. As recently in Feb of this year, there was an organization which was carrying out a security assessment of this particular passenger fleet of ships, and they discovered to their horror that multiple ships and multiple systems on these ships were infected by a backdoor. This is a specific kind of a malware which provide access to the attackers to carry on with their other nefarious activities on these systems. And what was more critical in this particular incident was that this specific malware which was detected was first identified almost 2 years back. So if we can take the timeline, we can see that, it was in place within these systems for almost more than a year, taking a conservative timeline. You can imagine the amount of damage that it would have caused to these organizations. The things are still not better. I am quoting from a very recent study which was done by an organization called the Thetius, and CyberOwl was it's a cybersecurity company which did this specific study on for this organization. And out of the companies that they assessed, almost half of them had reported cybersecurity attacks on their organizations, and out of which more than 1/3 of the senior leadership did not have a cybersecurity plan in place, and this translated to almost a quarter of their seafaring population did not know what to do in the case of a cybersecurity incident at sea on one of their vessels. So this is a very critical, and I'll bring out why is it very critical in the next couple of slides. Apart, of course, from the huge monetary losses that these organizations suffered. The biggest aspect is the increasing amount of infrastructure complexity on the ships. Ship systems, specifically, I'm talking about not the shore component. Shore component is a pure IT system. The ship systems are very complex systems. They rely on digitization, integration, and automation to do a lot of activity. So therefore, there are 2 separate networks on a ship. One is the IT network, which deals with data. And the second is the operational technology network, which deals with the physical systems and the interfaces between the physical systems, the ability to control these systems. And these are all the rest of the systems on the ship, starting from the bridge management system, the communication systems, the propulsion, power generation systems, access control, cargo management, anything that you can think of. And nowadays, with an increasing reduction on manpower, or the thrust on reducing the manpower, what has been the unintended consequence? The unintended consequence has been increasing automation on ships. And with this increased automation, there has been a merging of IT and OT systems. Initially, when operational technology systems were there and the IT was in infancy on the ships, there was not a very great interaction between these two. But as the IT has progressed, there are now management systems, there are now intelligence systems which give us analytics to the ships. It gives us analytics to the back, office at on the shore, on anything that is happening on the ship, the fuel management system, the propulsion system, or the health of the power generation system, communication systems, everything is being monitored. So therefore, this merging of IT and OT has led to a large number of an integrated environment on the ships, and therefore increased in the complexity of the ships. So what is contributing to these cybersecurity issues is one of the biggest aspect is that all the ships, especially large container ships or large crude carrying ships, liquid cargo carrying ships, they have got a very long life span as compared to other business organizations. So therefore, adoption of new technology is slower. There are, yes, of course, changes in, say, for example, the power generation systems or the propulsion systems or any other automation system. But newer technology, as far as the ability to control any cybersecurity incident, is slower over here. The second was that there has been a lower pace of internet connectivity. And I'm talking exclusively on the ships. Shore offices were, yes, definitely connected, as at par with other organizations which were using IT as their core business to support their core business operations. On the ship, internet connectivity and therefore interconnectivity between systems was not a very big priority, and therefore it contributed to lesser cybersecurity incidents. The unintended consequence of this was that there is lack of sensational news in the maritime sector. Media is not interested because there are nothing juicy coming out of incidents of ships at sea. There have been, yes, of course, a few incidents of GPS spoofing or throwing a ship off course or something like that. But by and large, there has been less sensational news because of the reasons that I have said. And another critical component is that there is not a formal incident reporting requirement. We can take the example of the financial sector. Financial sector is one of the most heavily regulated sector because it is the engine of the world's growth. It is the fuel and the engine and everything that runs everything on for nations, organizations, and any other aspect that you can think of. In the maritime sector, this reporting requirement has been lax. There are, of course, legal requirements like the EU's general data protection regulations, but these are more towards the privacy aspect of personal information. They do not require releasing or reporting incidents of cybersecurity. The other critical aspect, this itself is a subject by in itself. I am not going to spend too much time on this because this is a very critical aspect of maritime security. The undersea cable, there is a huge network of this undersea cable extending almost 1 million kilometers, and majority of the financial transactions are undertaken through these networks. Satellite-based communication systems, they cannot handle the bandwidth that is required for shifting money across various continents and various organizations world over. And one of the most surprising part is that the complete details and the location of these undersea cables is available on the net for everybody. Why is this so? Because these are organizations which are responsible for, say, for example, selling the bandwidth between two nations or between two organizations, or doing bandwidth management. If there is an excessive load on one of the cables, they shift the load on the another cable. So therefore, they need visibility on the whereabouts of these cable systems, submerged undersea cables. The critical component is where these cables rise up to the shore connecting stations, and then they connect to the terrestrial networks. That is where the vulnerability and the threats to these networks come into play. There have been instances where ships have anchored by mistake very close to these cables and have inadvertently damaged certain cables. But by and large, there have not been too much, sponsored attacks on this infrastructure as yet. We cannot, obviate this possibility in the near future or the far future also. I was speaking very briefly on the requirement of the guidelines, and I said that there are not enough guidelines in place. There are, of course, a few guidelines. DNV is an organization, it's a private organization which controls a whole lot of shipping related as well as other regulatory requirements. And they have come out with a security assessment of the control system components specifically. So they carry out a certification process, they carry out an assessment, and they give a certification, which is universally recognized by and large by other authorities also. IMO has published Maritime Cyber Risk Management Guidelines. They were published in July 2017. However, they are not very comprehensive. They are very generic in nature, and they specify basically what needs to be done. So it talks about platitudes that we must exercise due care in handling data and all those things. It doesn't go into the details. It doesn't ask certain requirements from the shipping companies or the maritime organizations to report back certain things. On the other hand, there is a consortium of these shipping maritime organizations which have been very regular in coming out with these cybersecurity guidelines. The latest, which is version 4, has been released in December 2020. And these are very comprehensive set of guidelines. They specify exactly what components of the ship and what components of the shore infrastructure need to be protected. What are the risks associated with these components? And therefore, what security controls need to be put into place. These are very comprehensive guidelines. However, these also do not go to the full extent of requirement of reporting incidents or requirement of making awareness or increasing the awareness of the organizations. So, taking bits and pieces of all these three guidelines, so to speak, there are certain aspects that need to be taken into account. First, of course, is to identify. The previous speaker very rightly said that if we identify a threat as far away as possible, it will be less of a threat once it is within our domain. So identification of the people, identification of the risks that are applicable, and most importantly, identification of critical systems on the ship, which impact the whole operations of that organization. Then, of course, protecting, putting multiple layers of defense, as Dr. said earlier. Defense in depth is a very critical aspect, and it is so. It is also true equally of the IT environment or the maritime cybersecurity environment. Implementation of detection technologies, the ability to respond, and the ability to recover from a cybersecurity incident. These are very specific points to be borne in mind, and therefore they need reiteration. To conclude, I would bring about that we will continue to see increasing levels of automation, and therefore it will take into account more integration between these two sets of networks, that is the operational technology on the ships and the information technology on the ships. There will be an increasing integration, and therefore the complexity will bring about more cybersecurity risks, which will lead to rise in cyber attacks. What we need to therefore do is to put proactive steps and not just to hope that things will be okay. Hope is not a very viable security strategy in any sphere, and definitely not within this environment. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. I
Thank
have
you.
finished with this, and
Thank
open
you. And I think the larger focus here has been on assets, the water, but I think we also need to look at the cyber threat to assets which are land-based and supposed to monitor the threat, or there are space-based assets which have to monitor the threats from the sea, and that itself would be another arena of threats. So since we are running short of time, there has been only, as I can see it, two questions, and that's by the same person, Rishi Atreya. And he is asked whether the National Maritime Security Advisor, who's just been appointed, he said that it's not whether a Coast Guard officer can actually be appointed, and the second thing is, there is a difference in levels between the CNS and the chief of the Coast Guards. So how do they actually operate? Commodore Venugopal has answered them in the chat, but I would request the former additional DG Coast Guard to actually give his comments on that question. Over to you, Shafika.
Thank you, sir. I'll take on that first question, whether DG Coast Guard reports to CNS. Now, Coast Guard has been created with distinct duties and functions under Coast Guard Act. And for those distinct duties and functions, Coast Guard reports to Ministry of Defense directly. And however, since during wartime, every national resource can be drawn into to defend country, So also Coast Guard is trained on the military lines. Our training happens with Indian Navy, and we work very closely with Indian Navy. Obviously, we join hands with Navy, and we'll probably work under Indian Navy at that time during wartime. But during the peacetime, the Coast Guard has a distinct charter and functions to be done, and Coast Guard reports to the Ministry of Defense. As regards to Maritime Security Coordinator, well, there is no ban, but who can be appointed? There is a purely the prerogative of Government of India whom to appoint, and I think I will leave it to that.
Okay, so thank you. So there being no further questions, let me just sum this up in the sense that the larger challenges which I think should have now become clear is about the fact that the most difficult thing in the government of India, both at the center and the state, is to coordinate between different actors, both whether the number of departments which actually tenant themselves in the coastal area is not funny at all. It's a plethora of actors who are there, and all of them have different ministries, and it is really the most difficult thing to do. So on top of the fact that this is fundamentally difficult to coordinate between ministries and departments, when you have the multiplicity of all this, and that is one of the challenges of facing it. It is not that we are not aware of the type of threats, and I'm so glad to hear that I used to be, I went around with the Naresh Chandra committee, which actually looked at national security, and this was in 2011. And I must say that I came back very disheartened with the type of boats which were there, which were not actually functional, and with the marine police, the way it was. But it's nice to hear that things have progressed. But we should never be satisfied with progress, because there's always enough left to do. And there is so many things which emerge newly, so many things which change. It is in coping with all this that we can meet these challenges. Because whatever we might do, we will still be surprised. And then the most important thing is, after we are surprised, how quickly do we react? We must also be prepared for that. So on that note, I must thank my co-panelists for their wonderful presentations and coverage of their subjects, and hand you over back to Professor Jairaj Amin of the Institute of the Mangalore University. Over to you.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you. Thank you, Chair, for that excellent handling of this session, as well as for your remarks. I also thank all the panel speakers, Dr. D.V. Guruprasad, Mr. Imamuddin Ahmad, Mr. Vijay Chaupekar, and Commander Subhas Datta for their excellent presentation and sparing their time with us. Thank you so much. With this, we'll end today's session. I hope all the students have actually entered their remarks in the chat box and also in the Google form that has been submitted to them. If Commodore Uday Rao or Mr. Heblikar has got something to say, they can actually come in. Otherwise, with the thanking everybody, I would like to end the session, and also the day's complete program.
Thank you, Jairaj. I have nothing to say further. I think it's been very well conducted and handled. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, all the speakers. Thank you, all the participants. Thanks also to our students. Hope to see you all tomorrow at sharp 10 o'clock in the morning. Dr. Dayananda, you have something to say?
Tomorrow at sharp 10 o'clock morning.
Yeah. Okay, then thank you all. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful day listening to all of you. We really enjoyed all these sessions, and we again thanking all of you. We will wind up this session and meet again tomorrow at sharp 10 o'clock.